This is the regular meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, May 17th. Please stand for our invocation by Pastor William Brannon, Christ Fellowship Baptist Church, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Lord, we begin in prayer because we acknowledge that we are dependent on you, that you are the God who rules and reigns over our lives and over our city. And so, Lord, we thank you most of all for sending your perfect Son to live in our place, to die on our behalf, and to defeat sin by your grace. Lord, your word tells us that you place governing authorities in place as your servants. And so we thank you for our city council. We thank you for our local officials and pray your blessing upon them as they make decisions and lead. Lord, would you grant them wisdom in the tasks that you've put before them today? And Father, we pray for this meeting that the presentations brought would be done in a spirit of unity, and that those who speak would speak with clarity, and that every word that is spoken and every decision made would be for the benefit of Mobile. And it's in the name of Jesus I pray. Amen.
If you would please remain standing for a moment of silence. Last week we announced the passing of Vic Knight, who I think most of you all know. Vic was a longtime sports enthusiast here in this city. Vic most recently was the general manager at Ladd Stadium. He had been named to the Sports Hall of Fame and had also worked tirelessly for many, many years for the Senior Bowl. We just want to remember Vic and his family, if you would please, in this moment of silence.
Mr. President, also for the poor victims in Buffalo that were murdered on this past weekend.
Bow heads.
Roll call, President Small.
Here.
Vice President Gregory. Councilmember Penn.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll. Councilmember Reynolds.
Here.
Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Statement of rules.
And good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We do apologize again for starting our meeting late. We had some very important discussions going on upstairs during our pre-conference meeting dealing with city business. But at this meeting, we do have rules. At this time, I ask if anyone has any type of electronic device, please, at this time, I ask you to put on the off or the vibrate position. The off or the vibrate position. Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, the ordinance appeal, or public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, the speaker must state his or her name and address. Any person desiring to speak to the council on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk office no later than 2:00 p.m. on the Thursday prior to the council meeting. The subject that he or she wishes to express must be identified and pertain to the city of Mobile business. Any person who has not given proper notice to the city clerk office and wishes to speak on a non-agenda item would not be allowed to do so. Each speaker is allowed to address the council for 3 minutes. A bell will sound to indicate the end of 2 minutes. 1 minute remains to summarizing. The second bell indicates the time has expired. When addressing the council, there will be no personal address to any individual council member. All statements are to be made to the chair, who will recognize any council member who wishes to respond. To maintain decorum, there will be no undue applause and a public outcry allowed. Madam Clerk.
Approval of minutes of May 3rd.
So move.
Second.
Been properly moving and second in a discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk.
Communications from the mayor.
Good morning. It's good to see everybody here this morning. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. I just have a couple items I want to talk about this morning. One is that I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to go up to the site where the Clotilda was discovered on the Mobile River. I was invited to join the Mobile Historic Commission and company called Resolve Marine and Search Incorporated. They were concluding their 10-day assessment and exploration of the shipwreck, and the purpose of that was to determine what is the best pathway forward as far as the preservation of the ship goes. I appreciate the Alabama Historical Commission Executive Director, Lisa Jones, allowing me to take a look, and we certainly look forward to what the outcome of their study will include. One of the things that's occurred over the last year is that the Historical Commission will be temporarily storing a handful of the 94 artifacts that have been recovered, and they're trying to determine what is the best way to preserve those. Ultimately, they will be on display in Africatown at the Heritage House. And I also look forward to working with the community in Africatown, the Historical Commission, the Mobile History Museum, to make sure that we tee all that up properly for the public to be able to see those artifacts. This week, we're celebrating across the nation a Police, EMS, and Public Works Week. You know, in the city of Mobile, every single day, there are firemen, there are emergency medical service individuals, there are policemen, garbage collectors, trash collectors, who are trying to make sure that our lives and our quality of life is better. For that, I am tremendously grateful for them. This week, I'll be joining them at an annual awards ceremony, which is actually tonight. And then there's a law enforcement memorial service Thursday at 10:30 a.m. where we'll be honoring those who have passed away in this past year. So anyway, my request of you this week is that anytime that you see one of our police officers, fire rescue personnel, a garbage collector, or a trash truck driver collector, please just take just a moment out of your day and tell them thank you for what they do. So often they feel underappreciated, and you can make a big difference in doing that. So appreciate your consideration in doing that. In that regard, I have a couple of proclamations I want to read this week. And the first one, I'll ask Jim DeLapp if he'll just go to the podium, and this will be to accept the National Public Works Week proclamation. And the proclamation reads, whereas public work professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are of vital importance to sustain a resilient community and the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Mobile, and whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structure facilities essentials for our citizens. Now, therefore, I, William S. Stimson, the 108th Mayor of the City of Mobile, Alabama, do hereby proclaim May 15th through 21st, 2022 as National Public Works Week. Thank you very much.
Real quick, and I know we're running late, so I'll keep it brief. Mayor, thank you very much for that proclamation. It's important to recognize all the public works employees and really pause and celebrate all that happens, and that's some of the things we'll be doing this week. Appreciate the support from our communications team as well to get kind of the word out to the community about that. This year's campaign is called Ready and Resilient for Public Works Week, and that's led by the American Public Works Association, and as you're well aware, we're working towards getting our accreditation. Want to be and should be the first in the state of Alabama to be an accredited public works organization. So we're working on that. As a matter of fact, Ms. Smith is on a call as we speak with the Public Works Association in an effort to help work towards that direction. So again, want to thank you and thank all the employees for all they do every day. We're not perfect, but we are working very, very hard with the team and the equipment that we have to maintain the city and its infrastructure the very best we can. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Second proclamation, is Shonda here?
She's not. She'll be down, but we've got the Parks and Rec folks that'll be coming down.
1 second. Do we have Marcus Harden? Yep, Marcus and Tanya Gullett. So if y'all could join down at the podium, and any other personnel that you brought with you. And this proclamation reads, whereas May 21, 2022 is the 12th Kids to Parks Day organized and launched by the National Park Trust, held annually on the third Saturday of May, and whereas Kids to Parks Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit local parks, public lands, and waters, and whereas we should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle to combat issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and whereas Kids to Parks Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and the outdoors. Now, therefore, I, William S. Stimson, do hereby proclaim May 21, 2022 as Kids to Parks Day. Congratulations and thank you for what you do. And I would have to say that over the last few years, we have spent over $70 million in our parks. I certainly hope that all of our citizens are enjoying a better experience, but it wouldn't be so without the personnel to make sure that they're taken care of. So thank you for what you do.
And these folks here work at our community centers. Again, couldn't do it without their hard work, but we really appreciate and enjoy having all the kids come out and take advantage of the great facilities we've got. And again, we're working hard to improve those facilities every single day. So thank you again.
So at this time,
also happy Public Safety Week as well for all the public safety employees.
Chief Prine, the Officer of the Week.
Thank you, Mayor, staff, certainly City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. So we have here today Officer Matthew Butler. He is currently an investigator with our General Investigations Unit. It's not really sexy like homicide and robbery, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. Primarily what Detective Butler did this past month was he resolved 12 burglary cases $21,000 worth of ATVs out in the 2nd precinct. And that's phenomenal. That may not be a big deal to a lot of folks, but if it was your ATV, it would be a huge deal. He cleared 12 of those cases, 5 of which may go federal with the Postal Inspector's Office. And so with that, we would also like to congratulate his parents today, Mr. Carol and Miss Anna Butler up at the top right here, and certainly his wife, Emily Butler. And I've always said, you know, usually the cream rises to the top. So when an officer makes it here today before you, he's probably one of the best of the best. And I've always said the fruit don't fall far from the tree. He has a great attitude. He's got quality character, and he certainly has a great work ethic. And it's certainly what we like to see here at the police department to get these type of things done. So with that said, job well done. Thank you.
This time, Chief Penn will introduce the firefighter, the fire rescue employee of the month.
To the mayor and the staff and the citizens, thank you for having me before you once again today. We have today here firefighter Driver Jones. Driver Jones began his career in 2007. He was promoted to driver. He is assigned to work the community risk reduction on the fire department. He's responsible for installing over 3,000 smoke alarms into the homes. The other day, I went to a home that had an incident, and they came out and ran out and told me that firefighter Jones had made a definitely impact on waking them up, and the smoke alarm that he installed was able to get him and her entire family out of the home. So thank you so much, firefighter Jones, for assisting us in that direction. He has made a positive impact in our city, and we just want to thank him as firefighter of the month. Thank you so much.
That concludes my remarks, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Been properly moved and second in discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Agenda is adopted.
Appeals, we have requests for waive the noise ordinance on May the 21st on Mobile Street, May 21st on Spring Hill Avenue, July 7th through the 10th in Cathedral Square, May 18th on Dolphin Street, June 25th on Government Street, and May 22nd on Pinemont Drive.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second in discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Appeal passes.
Public hearings today is the public hearing to rezone property located at the east side of Hillcrest Road, 326 feet of O'Shell Road from B2 to R1.
Just open up the public hearing for this particular property. Anyone who would like to address the council, you may do so at this time, or come down to the podium, state your address and your name and address. Anyone present? If not, this public hearing is closed.
Public hearings today is the public hearing to fix the cost for demolition of structures at 1512 Wellington Street, 2211 Barrett's Lane, 909 Antwerp Street, 1959 Moulton Street, 1854 Calm Street, 206 North Ann Street, 1455 Lincoln Street, 1409 Congress Street, 2762 Thompson Drive North, 1709 Marengo Drive, 7231 11th Street.
Just open up the public hearing for the said properties. If anyone would like to address the council, you may do so at this time, but come down to the podium, stating your name and your address. Anyone present?
I have two people that signed up for Barrett's Lane, Annie Daniel and Alice Wallace.
There's a microphone.
Oh.
Yeah. Can we get the Carlos mic? You said it was two people that signed up for Barrett's Lane?
Yes. Annie Daniels and Alice Wallace.
My name is Annie Daniel. I live at 2167 Good Street, Mobile, Alabama. And I'm speaking in behalf of Harry Mosley. His address here in Mobile is 2211 Barrett Lane. And what I'm here to say is his house got torn down without his notice. He came down and asked about it, but the peoples in the office told him they knew nothing about it. As far as they knew, the house was still standing. He got a letter that was dated on April the 20th. That was post dated on the letter to tell him to come here for this meeting. But he wasn't able to come, so he called me and asked me if we would come down and speak for him. He got the letter. The letter came to him on the 13th of the 5/13 of 22. That's when he got the letter for the notice to come here. So he got no other information on the property to be torn down.
Mr. Doffman.
Big right there.
Stop about. I mean, Ms. Daniel was stating that she did not, or the person did not receive the letter until, well, the notice about the house was going to be torn down. Isn't it like certified mail that has to be sent, or?
That is correct, yes. With municipal enforcement, we follow the state law and we go a little bit above and beyond. We do post the property with notice. We file list pendants with probate court and circuit court, but we also send out certified mail. And yes, we did send the certified mail to the owner of the property, Harry T. Mosley, in Maryland. And yes, he did receive it. We have the return receipts where he signed for it. But we also know that he received notice because he called municipal enforcement multiple times. This started back in 2018, and we've had several communications with him, specifically on what he needed to do to repair the structure. This structure was a vacant property that was burned where the roof had collapsed. Mr. Mosley did reach out to the Build Mobile department. He applied for a permit, received a permit to repair the roof, but he took no action. After 6 months, the permit was voided. We did send another courtesy notice because at this point, the property had already been declared by the city council as a public nuisance with the order for demolition, but we waited until the permit expired. We did send him another notice, certified mail, which we do have the receipt where Mr. Mosley signed that he received it, that we were moving forward with the demolition. So we did go forward, demolish the structure, and that's why we have the cost here to be fixed.
So is it possible, because they actually, I mean, it's not my district, it's actually District 1, but they contacted me this past week, and they had stated, they sent me a copy of the letter, and it was saying that it was securing of the, fixing the cost of the amount, therefore on the securing of the structure. But I mean, I guess when I was reading, it was securing of the structure that we had secured it, not it was already torn down.
Yes, sir.
And this letter was dated, well, the envelope says April 20th. April 20th, yeah, 2022. That's on here. Is it possible that you all you can supply Ms. Daniels with the copy of where Mr. Truman has signed for the certified mail and everything?
Yes, we're in contact with him yesterday, Mr. Mosley, and we suggested that he put a request for records, and we will be happy to make an entire copy of the file.
Okay.
Since he lives in Maryland, it's not possible. We do open our file so that his representatives can look at it today. We can meet right outside. If she wants to take a picture of it, she can.
Okay.
However, to get copies, he does need to submit the records request, which he was notified yesterday to do so.
Yeah, if you can show it possible outside, and then if you go ahead and submit it, the request for records, if you can just send it to him. But I am reading this letter where it says securing of the property versus it has been torn down.
Correct, and even though it's a city project, municipal enforcement, we end when we send a letter to the city clerk stating that we're requesting the fixing costs. We don't actually send that letter out to municipal enforcement, but I do assure you that the property was demolished. And here's an after photo.
Yeah, that's what they told me, it was demolished. Yeah, I believe it. But if you can show it to Ms. Daniels, he will speak to you outside the chamber.
Okay. Because he said he never got a certified letter.
Yeah, he's going to show you where he was signed for it and everything. And he also will be able to send it to Mr. Truman, also the copy of the letter where someone is signed for it.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Is anyone else present that would like to speak on these said properties? If not, the public hearing is closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Dennis McFarlane. Following Dennis McFarlane is Reverend Clinton Johnson.
Did you start that? Because I didn't say my name yet. Okay. Good morning. My name is Dennis McFarland. I live at 1106 Savannah Street. In all walks of life, we're inevitably confronted with moments that ask us to choose between what we think will benefit us personally and what will benefit the greater good. Imagine that for a person in a position of political power, this is true times 1,000. When Mayor Stimson undertook to redraw the voting districts map such that District 7 would be a black majority district, he first did this without taking into account voting age. When Mobilians called this to his attention, he was able to come up with a majority margin of only 56/100ths of 1%. Back in February, we were told that the mayor's map was only the beginning and that the city council would have 6 full months to improve the plan. Seeking to aid this process, some community members offered new maps that altered the mayor's only slightly, but increased the black majority of District 7 to a reasonable level. One of these creates a majority of 53%. That's an increase of 2.44%. For the benefit of the greater good, we're asking y'all to grant us 2.44%. I have faith that all of you want what's best for Mobile, and that each of you, because of who you are, wants to follow the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. We've heard objections of one sort and another to the new maps, details that can easily be ironed out, but we've never heard a direct expression of why such a beneficial change shouldn't be enacted. Mr. Jones has said that elections are not about race, but about character and relationships. If that's true, doesn't it remain true, even if District 7 has a voting age black majority of 53%? Last week, Pastor Lou spoke about the problem of gun violence in the city. Among your thoughtful responses, President Small and Mr. Penn stressed the importance of our all working together to come up with a plan. Mr. Dave said that if we could only get young people to stay in school, they could get good jobs, earning good money. Mr. Jones said that somehow we have to restore community trust in the police. Mr. Carroll said there's no trust where there's no hope. I submit to you that in granting the community in District 7 this small number, this 2.44%, you have a concrete opportunity to give people some hope. I submit to you that you won't feel it as any sort of loss, and yet it would mean so much because it would convey a message of goodwill, compassion, and hope. And I submit that doing it will benefit you personally as well. This choice would be a feather in your cap, something to tell your grandchildren about. When you look back on this time with the clarifying lens of history, you'll take pride in having reached into your heart and done the right thing, with having given your city an ounce of hope when it was sorely needed. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Reverend Clinton Johnson. Following Reverend Clinton Johnson is Reverend Jim Flowers.
Welcome home.
Morning. I'm Clinton L. Johnson, reside at 1101 Dunaway Drive, Mobile, Alabama. Let me begin by saying two things quickly that don't necessarily relate to what I want to say. COVID is still active among us, and I want to make a suggestion, since so many people talk in this mic, if you could have some sanitizer or spray, that you could spray the mic, we'll feel a bit more comfortable speaking. I appreciate that. Let me commend the council, the mayor, for what you have done and are doing to advance the cause of our city. Sitting in the positions that you occupy necessitate making tough decisions about a number of issues. And I know that you struggle to make those decisions in good conscience and to pursue what is right, what is fair, and what is just, to bring to a conclusion something that affects positively the entire community, so that there is nothing that is done that is perceived as less than that. You have two issues under grave consideration that at some point you're going to take the initiative to make a vote. I'm aware that for some years our city was number 2 in the state of Alabama. We're now number 4. Huntsville used to be number 4, it's now number 1. And so we recognize the growth in Huntsville. I was there this past week and was certainly immensely impressed with the growth of that city. I spent some time there in my initial collegiate experience. They have worked marvelously to advance the city. And I think we can do the same. I think annexation has its place and should be properly considered and concluded under circumstances that are not deleterious or adversarially impacted on any segment of our community. So we have to have the kinds of discussions that involve us to have opportunities to speak to the heart of the issues. We have to have a clear understanding of the issues, the right numbers and figures to make the decisions that we have to make about that issue. Number two, there's the issue of redistricting. I do not believe that I've heard and read that they're perhaps thinking that those two matters should be considered together. I think that is perhaps inappropriate thinking and should not be pursued. Number one, redistricting is required by law based upon census. It's something that you have to do and you cannot get around. It's clear that the majority of the population now happen to be black, somewhere around 51 to 52%. You have proposed redistricting at a alleged level of somewhere around 50.1% from the 48, 49% that was initially proposed. I believe that number has to be slightly increased. Quickly, when annexation...
Pastor, hold on 1 second. I'm going to ask this council to extend him 1 minute because he took the first minute and talked about COVID protocols, and something that we do need to do is clean the mics and everything. So I'm going to ask the council, let's extend this former council member up 1 more minute.
Thank you. When that matter, the matter of redistricting, as I indicated, is volatile, is significant, is important, and it reflects the change in population that has taken place since the last census tract were done. And it is a matter of law. Annexation is desired, perhaps, but it's not a matter of law. The two should not be connected because one really has nothing to do with the other. Redistricting is demanded by law, is required by law, and we must engage it, and we must do it in a way that the majority is fairly reflected as the majority and does not stand a chance of losing that majority once it becomes a majority. Annexation is a volatile issue. It's a touchy issue, and we got to understand the nature of our environment. And there's a microcosm of things that are occurring across the nation that are quite visible and quite concerning in local communities. And people are actually killing people based on theories about somebody dwindling in size. Things are happening. Voting rights are being stolen or taken away, denied by some communities. I'll be through in a minute.
Yeah, Pastor.
Okay, I'll be finished.
You understand, Pastor. You used to sit here.
This is a long issue, so I'll come back week after next and speak.
Thank you so much, Pastor. I hate to cut
Thank
you off.
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate
Thank you.
Before he leaves, though, Clinton, I just want to say good to see you in here, Clint. I know you're heading up the stairs, but I just wanted to tell you it's always good to see you back down here. And thank you for your service.
Reverend
Clint.
Reverend Clinton.
Pastor Johnson.
Yeah.
You got to hear Gina again.
I just wanted to say it's good to see you down here again. Thank you for your service. Always good to see you. Yeah, okay. Week after next, okay.
Reverend Jim Flowers, followed by Beverly Cooper.
Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor. My name is Jim Flowers. I'm rector of All Saints Episcopal Church, 151 South Ann Street, Mobile, Alabama. I again appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. There's nothing new I can say regarding the issue of redistricting that hasn't already been said. The issue, quite simply, is that the City Council approved voting districts that reflect meaningfully the black majority of our city, and we're almost there. What I want to say today is that I believe in good faith. My definition of faith is acting as if the possibility of our highest aspirations can be made into reality. Acting as if we live in a community of equals. Acting as if democracy still matters as a means of ordering our common life. Acting as if everyone, rich and poor, black and white, has a voice as to the affairs of our city. The historical legacy of Mobile is that our black brothers and sisters have had to sit on the sidelines, voiceless, not just for decades, but for centuries.
as to the opportunities for social inclusion and economic prosperity. One doesn't have to look hard for the disparity of housing and infrastructure in a city that is still divided between black and white. I believe the mayor's proposed map was made in good faith. It provides 4 majority black districts based on voter eligibility. My position is that it is just not quite enough. The Southern Poverty and Law Center has graciously assisted our coalition as well as the city in producing a map that they believe is more in accordance with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The Southern Poverty and Law Center is not some subversive fringe organization. They are legal scholars. They are our brightest and our best, whose mission is to simply serve the cause of justice and the rule of law. They are not our adversary. They have, in good faith, submitted a map that they believe is fair and just. Your approval of their new map would be an act of good faith, and I believe that such a gesture would create an environment, once there is adequate data, in which we can meaningfully discuss the practicalities of annexation. One thing is becoming clear. Without a map that addresses the spirit of the Voting Rights Act, there will be no annexation. But good faith always looks toward a win-win. Doing the right thing, approving the map, just 2 percentage points different from the mayor's, for which the coalition has asked, will create an atmosphere of good faith within which annexation can be considered. Good faith creates possibilities. So much is possible for the city of Mobile. We've got so much going for us. Business interests will take notice that we are a city that gives voice to all its citizens, a new American city, rife with possibility. Have courage, good people. I simply ask that you act in good faith. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Beverly Cooper, followed by Reggie Hill.
Good morning. My name is Beverly Cooper, and I reside at 1208 Palmetto Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36604. I am co-founder of Stand Up Mobile, a blueprint for us. We're a voter engagement organization. When Stand Up Mobile decided to focus our strategy on making all voices count, we expected that the administration and the elected officials would welcome these voices and our insights. Participatory government is based on the principles of transparency, integrity, accountability, and stakeholder participation. The community looks to our elected officials and the administration to be the medium through which citizens work to create true public good that benefits all. When Mayor Stimson invited the community to go to the city's website and play with the maps, we saw ourselves as co-creators seeking a solution to this most complex process. Our desire was simple: to create a 4th city council district with a clear majority for the Black voting age population, a majority that would enable the community to elect a candidate of their choice, a chance for the better for all of Mobile. So we reached out to the Southern Poverty Law Center. At the most recent Administrative Services meeting with members of City Council present and the administration, we and the professionals from SPLC were met with antagonism and resentment. When it was learned that there may have been an error in the first draft of our maps, the bizarre hostility escalated, though it was clear that a simple adjustment in the lines would certainly correct this error. I began to question, are we being viewed as meddlers and outsiders instead of citizens seeking the best for our community and for the city of Mobile? As we move forward with version 2.1 of the community maps, designed and reworked by professionals at the SPLC, we ask that there be serious review and an honest discussion about these maps among yourselves, with the administration, and throughout the entire community. We're not going away, and quite frankly, you shouldn't want us to. This is an opportunity. Let's stop the games and get this work done. We're all talking about a few percentage points, a neighborhood or two, a few households. We can do this, and we're hopeful as a city we will do it, not just for our community, but for our country and for the future of Mobile. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reggie Hill, followed by Teresa Benitez.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk and Mr. Davis. I didn't mean to beat you on wearing the blue and gold tie today, but we know 68 years ago they deemed that public education was unconstitutional. As well, 17 years ago, class 2005 graduated from Mobile High School, which is now known internationally as Murphy High School. Citizens and stakeholders of Mobile, good morning. Reggie Hill, 1007 Center Street. For some reason, when I approach this podium, too many people believe it is for some self-gain of some sort. But I can count on the one hand how many times I've been down here representing anything other than success for the future. And as many of you know, success for the future is an international influence. So there shouldn't be any reason for you to charge me with some act of self-righteousness, but rather for me standing up for the voiceless, speaking for those who do not have an opportunity to come and be heard. And that is something that we should understand. They're defined as that. Much like a black man who accepts the responsibility to speak truth to power, we are defined as well. Now, while that definition has remained the same for quite some bit of time, oppression, a double standard of justice, things of this nature, the synonyms of these things, they tend to change a little bit. And that's where the technical portion of this presentation comes today. So we're going to get into that. Now, the what should we call those? The legalities, per se. Time will not allow me to present this entirely what it is, preferably the last portion, since there's so many people already here speaking on the redistricting. I, like the former councilman, will just reserve those matters for another time. So I'm going to discuss those other three ideas, however, that I believe are quite important. Let's start with 31451 on the agenda today. Today, we have people crying all over this city about their housing. People who are not sure about where they're going to go, where they're going to live, how vouchers are going to take care of them, how they're going to take care of their bills. But yet we're going to come here today and potentially spend $8 million on a development downtown when people all over the city are hurting. $8 million for 94 units. One Mobile. I have another item here, 9/2/2022. A citizen who has been in court for 4 months over a law that does not exist. That does not exist. Taxpayer dollars. We cry about that every week. Being spent on that. 2 Mobile. This is an issue here. You should read this, Mr. Simpson. Hank Aaron is in here talking about the Tomerville Boys and Girls Club. Excuse me. Tomerville Boy Scout Unit. Ms. Anton gave me this. She asked about them sidewalks, too. And I guess that's just something we do. Things get approved. Things come here, and they don't get paid for. There's something that Mr. Johnson said. Black-on-black crime has reached a critical level that threatens our existence as a people. I don't have time to read the full quote because we've gotten to the point of this. If I could just have 30 more seconds, I don't even need a minute.
Then the council member grant Mr. Hill the extra minute.
I will, Mr.
All right, 1 minute.
Thank you so much for the gentleman from District 4. Black-on-black crime has reached a critical level that threatens our existence as a people. And although we are not responsible for the external factors that systematically create breeding grounds for social disorder, we cannot afford the internal responsibility of doing everything that we can to solve a problem that is rending the fabric of our lives. What does that mean? To me, and this is what we're going to touch on with redistricting next week, I would rather tolerate ignorance than deal with coonery any day. So the black-on-black crime is not just a physical state. People in position of power, people in position of influence, we are sitting back and watching as our city crumbles and wonders why the things are the way. We can't blame oppression because we all are a part of it now. We can't blame others for things that are going on because we're not taking responsibility. So I'm not afraid to come down here and fight it regardless of what it is, because we're going to stand up for those who are voiceless until we get it right. Thank you for yielding the floor.
Teresa Bettis regarding Resolution 31451, followed by Carolyn Mays regarding 31451.
And just before I start, I just want to remind the audience, to maintain decorum and please, watch the public outcry. Ms. Bettis, I apologize.
That's fine. Good morning to the council and to the mayor and the staff. My name is Teresa Bettis. My address is 602 Bel Air Boulevard, Mobile, Alabama, 36606. I am speaking to you this morning as a representative and member of the South Alabama Economic Roundtable. To some of you, you know us from last year. To the new council members, we hope to get to know you better and work with you. We are a group of local community leaders, businesses, for-profit and not-profit, and the faith-based communities. This morning, the project that we're discussing does not meet the guidance provided by the Treasury's final rule. Furthermore, it is not located within a qualified census tract as required by the Treasury guidelines. SARE has been clear on its opposition to the Gafers project. Last year on July 22nd, we had a meeting with the mayor's staff, and we were told at that time that the project was off the table. Yet again, we are here today as the project is back on the table. The location of the project is not considered a high concentrated area for people living at or below the federal poverty level. The building is directly across from the Dolphin Street historic Benville Square, surrounded by trendy nightclubs and eateries. And putting affordable housing developments in this location would not benefit those who need it the most. Where are the schools for children? These would be families with children. Where are the grocery stores for them to shop? Where are the playgrounds for the children? The Gafers project is the largest single structure rehabilitation project for the COVID-19 relief money or the ARP funds, the American Rescue Funds, at $8 million. We're talking about 94 affordable housing units that will be provided. If you take that and divide it by 8 million, you're talking about 85,000 plus per unit. That is an exorbitant amount of money to be spent and can be better spent. Within the city of Mobile, there have been identified areas that fall within that qualified census tract. Tomerville, Crichton, the Bottoms, the Campgrounds, Maysville, Hillsdale Heights, and others. This is a rescue plan, and it's intended to benefit those individuals who have been historically misunderstood and marginalized and affected by poverty and inequality. Those individuals do not live in downtown Mobile. We are facing, you know this already, a housing crisis. Yet again, yesterday, a call to my office, another local apartment complex is about to evict tenants because they will no longer accept Section 8. They have 30 days to find a place to live. They will not find it in 30 days. They won't find it in 90. We're getting the calls every day. This money can be better spent, and it is, most importantly, not being spent legally. The way that it is set up, it will not pass the test. We ask that you vote any measure to spend American Rescue Plan dollars on this project down. Thank you.
1 minute, Ms. Bettis.
Sure.
I'm going to sign this, the particular 31-4512 committee, this particular resolution. I'm going to sign it to an entitlement committee chaired by Mr. Penn. Mr. Penn, during your announcement, if you can find some dates and during the announcement period, so we can have a committee meeting. Ms. Bettis, you made a statement, and this is my first time hearing this, that people stop accepting Section 8.
Oh, it's happening, yeah. A lot of the multifamily housing providers are no longer accepting Section 8.
Why? I mean,
it's not a law. We tried to get source of income made a law in the city of Mobile back around 2010 or so, added as another protected class. It's happening across the country. Many other cities have source of income as a protected class. Because it's not a protected class here locally in Mobile under the fair housing laws, if I have a Section 8 voucher, you could have 200 units available, but if I don't want to accept your voucher, I can turn you away. And that's a problem, especially when we're looking at RV Taylor, which is about to be sections of it torn down and we were talking roughly about 500 families who would get Section 8 vouchers. We told them 2 or 3 years ago that we did not have the market to accept that. Now I understand from a former employee who's in the Huntsville Housing Authority, people are porting out of Mobile and going to Huntsville because they can't find housing here. Yet we have all of this money to start building and providing some affordable housing for them.
Let me ask you this question here, because it has been a statement in my mind where I have heard other people say, I own Section 8 houses too. And when, that's like guaranteed money, where I always hear the owners say, it's guaranteed money. So, and I don't know, I'm going to educate me. I only have 2 Section 8 properties, and I get my money monthly. But I don't own no more than 2. But my question is, why have people stopped accepting Section 8? I don't know.
We don't have a clear answer as to what's happening to that. I suspect with the increase of rents, because the other calls that we're getting is that people's rent is going up by 50% to $100. So if you paid $700, now your rent is going to be $1,400. And the vouchers are not going to, you have to justify the increase. That's another issue. So if you're wanting to substantially increase your rents, HUD sets those guidelines for what those vouchers are going to pay. So that could be one of the reasons. I can't tell you the full reason why people are no longer wanting to accept Section 8. I know there's some stigma around that, but there are plenty of good people who get those vouchers who are good tenants.
Okay. All right. I'd like to know if you could share that information with me. And
I'm happy to meet with you and Mr. Penn. Let me know when.
Yeah, if you could find some information, please share that, because again,
But it's their right. Let me just be really clear.
I know that. It's my right.
It's not a
accept
protected class, so there's nothing to stop.
But like I say, it's always been, I have heard people say, I'd rather get Section 8 because it's guaranteed money versus. But this is my first time that there's a big thing out there that people just stop accepting. And that's something new to me. I appreciate you.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Carolyn Mays, regarding 31451, followed by Yvonne Brazier, 64017.
I am Carolyn Mays, 1103 Antwerp Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36605. I have been coming down here for the last 8 years trying to tell you all that the vouchers would not work. Now it's coming to fruition. You have 1,200 houses at RV, Burnsville, and Barton Tower, which can be total remodeled with that $58 million. It doesn't need no $100 million. Those are just numbers that people are throwing around. They're just throwing those numbers around. And when we talk about our lower income or income, he's not talking about, or the mayor is not talking about the people probably necessary in the poverty level. He's talking about people that may be making $25,000 or $30,000, which wouldn't even include those people, because you would have to be making probably $14 an hour to even get $30,000. So they wouldn't be making that kind of money. So you're not talking about those people. But my sister and I, we went to RV, Burnsville, and Barton Tower on this past week. And we began to talk to the people and care for them. And a lot of them were in tears because they are worried. See, we're not worried about where we're going to stay. All you have to do is do the right thing, not what you think you ought to do. Everybody in here quoting Bible. You all know what the scripture teaches. Those who are helpless and those in need, you must give them justice. You have Roger Williams and Happy Hill. That $8 million that he's talking about can be used to build units. And our people will have somewhere solid to stay. And if you restore all those houses, that's 1,200. Then you got all those built. That would help the people. They wouldn't be worried. We got to do what is right, not what we think looks good. I have told y'all again, and I'm going to tell you again, when you're running for office, you are a candidate. But when you get those seats, you are in the seat of judgment. And that is what you will give an account for. Not that you ran for office, but the decision that you are making over people's lives. Because those people are worried. I'm telling you, it's not good. Because I went over there myself to see. And so we need to get up in here and put our heads together, take that 58 million, because I don't see where we got a park. Okay, we got a park here in Mobile that a dog and a cat can go and piss and mess, and then these people worrying about where they're going to stay at. So a dog and cat, where they're going to mess, can go better than
Ms.
somewhere
Banks,
else.
I apologize, but your time has expired. Thank you so much.
Yvonne Brazier regarding 64017, followed by Kevin Sturgis with the same ordinance. Yvonne Brazier.
My name is Yvonne Brazier, and I grew up at 471 Chin Street. We lived there most of our lives, and it's really bothering me concerning the factories. I brought an article, the Mobile Beacon, deaf walking through Chin Street neighborhood. This was in 1990.
Let's stop the clock for 1 second, Marianne. And Ms. Brazier, could you just repeat your name one more time and your current address?
I'm sorry.
And your current address.
Okay, Yvonne Brazier, Brazier,
If you could start.
5854 Shadesview Drive.
Thank you so much. If you could start.
I reside there, but our family home is on Chin Street.
Thank you.
And this is an article that was written by Mr. Porter, Mobile Beacon, 1994, deaf walking through Chin Street. And it's got a picture of me and two of my sisters and two neighbors. And me and my sister are the only two that are still living. We got factories behind Chin Street. This is unique to Africa Town because most of Africa Town don't deal with Weaver and Company. This asphalt plant, they never got permission to operate. They're about 10 feet from my mama property line. Never got permission to operate. Some of the signs, we took pictures of some of the signs. Danger, live wire. This is right over my mother's property line. Danger, live wire. This picture says high pressure gas line. Do not smoke. Do not dig around. And you got Weaver and Company, you got Vulcan plant, and you got 3M dry dock. All that dust, all that pollution has almost killed Chin Street off. We got a third of the people that used to live there. All the people that signed this petition for Mr. Porter, almost all of them are gone. They can't live. We can't live there. The dust, my neighbors, Grady and Robert, they called the police several times because of the noise keeping them up at night. Finally, they paved the road, but dust and pollution is still everywhere. And the city is dealing with them. The city, they get millions of dollars from the city to pave our streets, and they are there illegally.
Thank you, Ms. Birch.
Kevin Sturgis regarding 640. Okay. Joe Womack regarding 64017. followed by Ramsey Sprague.
Get on that clock now. Good morning. I'm retired Marine Major Joe Womack, Africatown born and bred, and proud of it. Some of y'all been up there long enough to hear me say that.
Hey, Mr. Womack.
I'm Joe Womack, 2816 Westmore Court, Mobile, Alabama, 36695.
Thank you.
Some of you all been up there long enough to have heard me say that for the first time about 10 years ago. And I'm more than proud to say it again. Because what we've done in Africatown, we've taken our plan and we've taken it around the world. We got worldwide recognition, and it's because what we've done as residents, friends, supporters of Africatown. You know, the first thing that I heard when I got involved in Africatown was, you have too many organizations. Well, we only had two. Africatown Mobilization, that was headed by Robert Butler. Robert Battles, he didn't live there. And Alumni Association, Mobile County Training School Alumni Association, headed by Bill Clark, he didn't live in the community. But, you know, what I found out is we actually didn't have enough. Two wasn't enough. We've got five now, and we still don't have enough. What I've learned over the years that people often come up with catchphrases and false rumors if they want to do nothing for the community, such as, you got too many leaders, you got too many organizations, we don't know who to give the money to. I often say, if you don't know, take a coin, flip a coin, and give it to somebody if you really want to help. And so the term I hear today, and there are a lot of terms being floated around, is footprint and unintended consequences. I won't say too much about footprint because it is what it is. You know, they're saying basically if you're located here, you can't hurt somebody across the road. And enough said about that. We all know what a footprint is, and that stuff seeps into the ground and travels throughout the ground in underground waterways that we used to drink water well out of years ago, and because pollution travels in the air and everywhere else. As far as unintended consequences, just think about it. If one of the unintended consequences of passing that safe zone amendment, it means that an industry can't locate in a community, guess what? That's an intended consequence for the people of the community. That's one thing that we all are for. And we that support Africatown, y'all raise your hand who all support Africatown, the Safe Amendment. We all here. We're here to fight for the safety and the continuation of all of Africatown. All of Africatown, not just the historical district, because the historical district is only 25% of the entire community, and we want to keep the entire community safe. I'm often asked, what's the difference between this latest Sundance documentary that got all these awards and that they're making a movie out of, Netflix gonna stream it this fall, the Obamas are making a movie, and participant production, they're gonna make a movie. What's the difference between this documentary and the ones that were put out years ago, and all the different documentaries? I said, in my opinion, this one tells the whole truth about Africatown. And the truth is that last shipment of slaves that came over here in 1860 was enslaved. The community was enslaved back then. And guess what? In 2022, we still have an enslaved community. And that's what's going on. Enslavement is in the mind. People trying to force things on you that you don't necessarily want. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ramsey Sprague, followed by Carol Adams Davis.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ramsey Sprague. I live at 63 South Fulton Street. Y'all know I'm with Africatown, MEJAC, and the NAACP. Today I bring maps. What the UDC describes as the Africatown overlay was first established with the adoption of the Africatown Neighborhood Plan in 2016 and is therein defined as the Africatown Planning Area, but we've taken to call it the Africatown Boot. Here we have Plateau, Magazine Point, Happy Hills, Kelly Hill, Lewis Quarters, and Hog Bayou up here. This geographic cutout is Pritchard, and north up here is Chickasaw. This is the National Park Service's Africatown Historic District compared with the Boot. The Historic District is less than 1/3 of a square mile. The Boot is 3 1/3 square miles. The Federal Historic District is less than 10% of the City of Mobile's Africatown planning area. Why is the Boot so big, you might say? Because the community defined itself based on its historic relationship to the waterways that surround it. This is where their family baptisms were held. This is where they hunted for meat, and they fished and continue to fish in all the waterways where they have access and are actually able to. Now, infrastructure. There are 4 major railways that disrupt life in Africatown: Canadian National, Norfolk Southern, the Terminal Railway owned by the port, and the infamous, currently, CSX. Each is a storied rail line with a sad history of damage and imposition on its neighbors in Africatown. This map shows all the state highways and interstates that go through Africatown. I-165 completely cut off Lewis Quarters from the rest of the Boot. Africatown Boulevard is, in fact, at the I-10 hazardous cargo bypass and hazardous material passes at grade through the Africatown Historic District right in front of the Union Baptist Church, right across the street from the historic Plateau Cemetery. And finally, this map shows Africatown's industrial land use. As you can see, there's more than can actually legibly fit on a single map. Each of these maps tells a compelling story. And what our Africatown Safe Zone does and represents is the clear will of the vast majority of Africatown's residential stakeholders and advocates. MEJAC doesn't want the destruction of industry. MEJAC wants one big planning table with residential and industrial stakeholders in the interest of open, transparent, and equitable community development. A lot has changed since 2016. More planning work is necessary, but Africatown is not going back. We are fighting forward for Africatown's future. And those who say Africatown has always been industrial might as well be saying that Africatown has always been the mayor's plantation. But it doesn't have to be that way. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration of my presentation.
Carol Adams Davis regarding 64017.
Hello, I'm Carol Adams Davis, 362 McDonald Avenue, Mobile, and today I'm representing Mobile Bay Sierra Club. Mobile Bay Sierra Club supports the proposed amendments prepared by the Mobile Environmental Justice Action Coalition, MEJAC, to the City of Mobile's Unified Development Code regarding the Africatown Overlays District Safe Zone criteria, which encourages sustained reinvestment, enhances economic opportunity, and provides a better quality of life for residents, including the avoidance of further industrial encroachment and the elimination over time of those industrial activities that are incompatible with nearby residential neighborhoods. When the present zoning ordinance was written, the people that lived in Africatown not only had no voice in government, they could not even vote. It was written and implemented without input from the people it most affected. This is an injustice. It is not often in life that we can get a second chance, but this is an opportunity. We can't fix everything, but we can make some things right, and proposed safety zone in Africatown is an important step to right these historic wrongs. Yes, there is a provision in the UDC that says that there is no new industrial zoning in Africatown, which sounds great, but when you look at the present zoning in Africatown, everything is already zoned industrial. How can any decision be made without a real study of the industrial properties surrounding Africatown? Mobile Bay Sierra Club membership is committed to maintaining the quality of Mobile's environmental resources, working to ensure clean air and water for all, and promoting environmental justice. And the Mobile Bay Sierra Club members, like many Mobile residents, are nervous about our waterfront industrial district. The map for Mobile doesn't deal with this industrial area at all. The only individuals that know about the industrial district are insiders such as Alabama State Port Authority administration. Why can't there be a citywide study regarding an industrial plan that would identify what is zoned industrial now and what is necessary going forward as far as uses? Presently, there is no public data available to base industrial development decisions. We do not know what the burdens are because the burdens are not being measured. I also wanted to say that the Peninsula Overlay covered some excellent standards, including riparian buffers. It is good that the riparian buffers are recognized in the UDC, but they need to be much stronger citywide. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ordinance is held over. 64017, ordinance to adopt the City of Mobile Unified Development Code.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Mr. Reynolds?
I've got two amendments I'd like to offer.
Yes, sir.
First one regarding short-term rentals. It's been distributed. It's on file with the clerk's office. We discussed it in the pre-council meeting. Just to make a quick comment on that, short-term rentals, the goal with this is really just to identify the land use associated with them. And there was a committee that was formed a year or so ago with the previous council, and they weren't really able to come to terms on exactly the criteria for a good ordinance. So I thought with this is just a scaled back ordinance that sort of splits the hairs between what was found in those committee meetings. And for those folks that are out there that currently own short-term rentals, this does not affect you. You still maintain all the rights that you enjoy today. So with that, I'd offer that amendment up.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That amendment passed.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Reynolds?
I've got a second amendment I'd like to offer regarding home daycares. This was spurred on by issues that have come before the Board of Zoning Adjustment over the past several years that really they don't have the authority to address. Board of Zoning Adjustment deals with property-specific issues, and this is a use issue. Therefore, I find it necessary to identify a category of home-based child daycares with 7 to 12 children be defined, and the criteria, we discussed it in pre-council, and it's been distributed to everyone. It's on file with the clerk. So I'd like to offer that amendment.
Second.
On the amendment, in the discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President, I got a question.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah, for the conditional use, Ben, did you say this is going to go to the Planning Commission versus City Council?
Planning Commission will make a recommendation, and then that approval will ultimately come before the City Council.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The amendment passed.
Mr. President,
Mr. Reynolds?
I move we hold the UDC over. Oh, there's one more amendment.
Mr. President.
Mr. Dave?
I'd like to offer an amendment which has been proposed by the administration having to do with community residences. This brings the UDC into line with federal law, and that's all it does, and I'd move it.
Second.
And properly moved and second. Any discussion on Mr. Dave's amendment? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed.
President,
Mr. Reynolds?
I move that we hold over the UDC for 2 weeks.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Carol?
All right. The reason for the holdover for 2 weeks is to find some language that helps to protect the sovereignty of Africatown proper, and also find some type of agreement of buffering within the industry and the community there also. There is an approach now from the industrial side for support of a safe zone. But in looking at the maps on the safe zone, they don't cover everything that should be in there. There were some areas north and east that were not included that needed to be, needed some correspondence or correlation with communication between both parties. There was also some properties on the other side of Paper Mill Road going north that are currently being rezoned or asked to be rezoned, with a proposal out there that is very inviting, because the owners now want to place a B2 strip of property, which is neighborhood businesses along Paper Mill Road, on their property as opposed to heavy industrial. Those are the types of things that we're looking for in Africatown. You know, we want life out there. We want industry that supports the community. We'd like to see a McDonald's, a grocery store, a good gas station. You know, somebody said earlier, they drove a bridge right through the heart of my community. They took out Koju Lewis's house and Peter Lee's house. The only thing left standing is a chimney that once was his house. We know now that some of the most important, historic, factual properties to the city and also the state of Alabama once stood there. But for the insight of development and bridges, we drove things right through it, not even caring what the ramifications were. We just didn't care. A lot of us. Do we care now? Yes, we do. So I think it's most important that we look for a way to resolve this. I got a message once before from a good friend that said, if there was a win-win, we would have already found it. At some point in time, we may have to have a win-lose that gets us there. And we may not get absolutely everything that we want. But the object here is to protect the sovereignty of that community and to protect what we have left. Because, to be honest, if industry continues to encroach and creep upon the community, it's going to die from suffocation, because the community is older. The average age out there is probably 75 years old. But in order for it to grow, it has to have some parameter around it that invites vitality and youth and new construction and renovation and new streets to grow. And we have to also provide that environment, but at the same time try to protect what's, I guess, has been across the street for a while. So that's the intent. Hopefully over this next week, I can continue to work with a couple of lawyers, I think it's 3, that have been offering back and forth some options on what to do in the area that we'll call the safe zone. Now, I've got to be 100% honest with me, Jack. I am very much in favor of a safe zone, but some of the language in the amendment is very far-reaching. And the language that is being used was being used because of what was then a voluntary use restriction by the property owner. And in able to get that done, blanketed across what you're trying to do or suggesting is each individual property owner currently owning property would have to agree to the use restriction. So you just can't blanket across an existing property that has ownership and that's already working. So there has to be some type of language to correct that or to help that along. Now, we're close in establishing a safe zone. We're close. And hopefully over the next week or 2 weeks, because of people being out of town, we'll be able to get there. And I will gladly invite you and the other members of the community, once we have some language, to come in like once before, and let's sit down and go over it and make sure that it's all fine, and then present it to the council before we vote on it. Now remember this one item is holding up the UDC. So if it gets to a point to where you're still making the progress of the city, then I'm gonna have to make a decision, okay? Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Mr. Jones?
I very much appreciate Councilman Carroll taking this on. Indeed, it is a very difficult approach to resolve an issue because you're dealing with the safety of a neighborhood, but you're also dealing with the safety of the city with regards to protecting the industrial base that is a huge provider of the income that we have in the city and the state. $32 billion a year is generated through that port. And if you start messing with the dynamics of any part of that port, it has an impact on all of that port. You know, I gave an example this morning. I grew up in Chickasaw, and the paper mills were there, and the paper mills left. And Chickasaw is a shell of what it was when I grew up there, because that business that provided those good-paying jobs and securities were no longer there. The house I grew up in is worth about 50% of what it was in 1978, which is shocking when you look at today's market. So we do have to be very cognizant. And when I look at terms of, you know, with MEJAC saying the encouragement of elimination of industrial activities, that's problematic. So we do have to find a middle ground, and I'm looking forward to having these discussions and being able to come to a compromise where we can move forward with this. Thank you.
Any other discussions? All in favor to lay it over for 2 weeks?
Aye.
All opposed? Items laid over for 2 weeks.
Consent resolutions held over 37,390. Recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a special events retail liquor license to Lit Cigar Lounge for Saturdays at the Coop.
So moved.
Second.
And properly moved and second in discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed. 1 minute, Madam Clerk. If you want to go ahead and exit the meeting, you may do so at this time. Mr. Hill. Madam Clerk.
58,394. Assessed cost for removal of weeds. Wheatland Group 1624.
Move to hold over 1 week.
Second.
And properly moved and second in discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item laid over for 1 week.
Resolutions held over 08403. Approve item-based bid for MSA brand compressed air escape kit. 08404 and 405 are approving purchase orders for fuel at various locations and for the Wave Transit. 08406, approved purchase order to Vulcan for galvanized street signpost. 08407, approved purchase order to MHC Truck Leasing for Ford pickup truck. 08408, approved purchase order to North American Fire Equipment for thermal imaging camera kits. 08409, approved purchase order to Linear Systems for Digital Information Management System Upgrades and Support Services. 21410, authorized contract for gourmet air conditioning for mechanical upgrades at the Arthur R. Outlaw Convention Center. 21411, authorized contract with Barton Associates for bulkheads protection at the Mobile, Alabama Cruise Terminal and Gulf Quest Maritime Museum. 21412, authorized consulting contract with TAG for re-roofing at various city facilities. 21413, authorized contract with Hughes 360 Services for right-of-way mowing. 21414, authorized contract with E. Cornell Malone for roof replacement and exterior repairs at the Mobile Technology Center. 21415, authorized contract with Iker Construction for drive repair at Fire Station number 15. 25416, accept a permanent sidewalk easement and right-of-way permit as needed for the North McGregor Avenue reconstruction project. 25417, accept right-of-way deed for public road from the Gordon Smith Center Incorporation for the 3 Mile Creek Greenway Trail. 37418, consider approval of a certificate of public convenience and necessity to L&L Express LLC to operate a sedan service. 6419, approve settlement agreement and release of claims. 6420,
You
authorize.
could take that one separately.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Those items pass.
6420, authorize the council to hire a consultant to perform and provide a racial polarization study.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? I would like to send this to committee, and I'm going to assign this to the Rules Committee. Ben Reynolds, ask Councilman Reynolds if he can come up with a date and get with his committee and inform the rest of the council. Any other discussion?
Mr. President, just to make
Ms.
sure
Gregory.
we all understand, we are voting on this today to move forward, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
At the Rule Committee, we will sit down and talk about this in more details. Any other discussion?
Good.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
All opposed? 6-1 abstention.
Ordinance is being introduced. 64029.
By council rules, this will be laid over for 1 week.
Consent resolutions being introduced. 3423 through 6443.
Move to waive the rules for immediate consideration of these resolutions.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk.
03423, approve the mayor's appointment of Enoch Smith and Audra Harper to the Industrial Development Board. 37424, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a special events retail license to Lit Cigar Lounge for Friday Night Live at Cooper Riverside Park. 42425, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35 are fixing the cost for demolition of structures at 1512 Wellington Street, 2211 Barrett's Lane, 909 Antwerp Street, 1959 Morton Street, 1854 Calm Street, 206 North Ann Street, 1455 Lincoln Street, 1409 Congress Street, 2762 Thompson Drive North, 1709 Marengo Drive, 7231 11th Street. 60, 436, 437, 438, 439, 440, 441, and 442 are determining appropriations to the 3 Mile Creek Partnership, Callaway Smith Middle School, Family Counseling Center of Mobile, Infirmary Foundation, Inc., Feeding the Gulf Coast, Universal Youth Foundation, serve a public purpose, and approving payment. 6443, approve award a special bonus to the firefighter of the month.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It passes.
Resolutions being introduced. 08444 through 31451.
Per council rules, these will lay over for 1 week.
Call for public hearings. 41-452, call for public hearing to consider approval of a certificate of public convenience and necessity to Slab Life Express to operate a shuttle service scheduled May 31st. And 41-453, call for public hearing to rezone property located at the east side of North University Boulevard at the east terminus of LeBaron Drive South from R1 to B2, scheduled June 21st.
So moved.
Been properly moved and second in discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing is called.
Announcements.
All right, District 4, Councilman Reynolds.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. After discussing it with the Rules Committee members, Mr. Penn and Mrs. Gregory, May 31st at 1 p.m., we will have a Rules Committee meeting to discuss the process of hiring a consultant to address redistricting, and this will be specifically about the process of choosing a consultant. And that'll be at 1 p.m. or immediately following the council meeting. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. District 6, Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Only comment I have is congratulations to all the seniors that are graduating from our high schools and universities. Every day I see the caravan of vehicles going into the Mitchell Center and a lot of happy faces on both the teachers and the students' faces. So congratulations and best of luck in your future endeavors, whether that be to a new job or to a university or a community college. Well done.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Jones. District 2, Councilman William Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight at 6 o'clock, I will be at the VIA Center for the second to last community meeting, talking about redistricting and a few other things. Appears though we have quite a few other things to talk about in the city now, with the port and the Africatown Safe Zone, and now with the advent of $8 million downtown in the Gayfer building. So there are a few things that we need to add to our schedule, and I'll be releasing those dates hopefully soon. But tonight, 6 o'clock, VIA Center. Please, if there are any questions or any concerns, please come with them. Hopefully we can be in and out in an hour's time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. District 1, Councilman Penn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to also announce our entitlement committee will meet next Tuesday on the 24th to discuss 31-451, the update to the American Rescue Plan regarding the Gayfers building. We will meet next Tuesday on the 24th at work right after council meeting, so maybe 1:30.
Oh, okay, 1:38. Because we do have a luncheon next. 1:30. Okay.
What is that?
Probably
I'm sorry,
immediate
what is
following the Mobile. I think I think we have a luncheon by the Mobile Arts. Is it? No. Okay. So immediate following that, but it should be about 1:30.
We'll also have to reschedule some of the CIP meetings. I think we already had scheduled.
Yeah, already.
That's gonna.
We won't have to do that. Sorry.
So easy to schedule.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. That's all, Mr. Penn.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. District 5, Councilman Daves, and District 7, Vice President Gregory. Okay. I want to make a couple of announcements to my colleagues. We know we have some important issues, especially with Ladd Stadium. Need to get with the board and also with the administration, and I want to put this up under civic culture and development, where we can just sit down and see where we are headed with Ladd Stadium. We understand that they're looking for a management team and et cetera, but if it don't be next Tuesday, the following Tuesday on the 31st, we're looking to schedule a meeting with the board and its council. And also sometime in June, council, I would like for us to take a trip out to the crisis center out at Alta Point, where we can have a committee meeting out there along with the public safety director and the police department, And I'm going to ask Cassandra, I think it's 2 dates in June that they have available out there. They will serve lunch out there also. So sometime in the middle of June, I believe it is, but we'll talk more about it. Anything from the administration? Anything else from this council?
Motion to adjourn.
We have properly moved in second. Any other discussion?